Good evening, everybody, and welcome to my stream. So, uh, it's been about two-ish weeks. Um, so I guess we could give a little refresher. So first off, this is the second uh, Cycle Saga book reading. We covered three chapters last time. To basically give a little bit of a summary, we met our main character, Mordred. She's a young girl who uh, is a mercenary, uh, and she is a little bit spunky, uh, kind of a shut-in, antisocial. Uh, and we also learned about a little bit about the alliance that controls the planet she's presently living on, and how they govern things, and how they designate planets based off of rankings, and much more fun stuff. Uh, so that's the gist of it. If you want to know more details, just watch the first part. It's on YouTube. I will be putting this all into a nice, convenient playlist. Um, and the goal, let me check really quick. How far do I want to get today? We cut. So we covered one, two, three, four. We covered four chapters last time. I think we can cover four. So one, two, three, four. Okay. So yeah, that's a good stopping place. So we'll cover four chapters today, and we'll call it a day. So, um, I hope you guys have a nice warm or cold drink. Uh, get yourselves all nice and comfortable. You know, play a game. Uh, relax in a nice comfy chair, whatever suits your boat. Just sit back, relax, and let's enjoy a nice book together. So, Chapter 3, A Complicated Job. Like almost every time I took time off, it seemed to pass by too quickly. Before I knew it, as I was laying on the ground, controller in hand, and empty snack wrapping surrounding me, a notification on my phone started to chime. I set an alarm to tell me when my time was up, and I had to get back to work. A part of me wanted to stay in my gaming state forever, and to ignore the outside world entirely. And while I could take another few days off, as I do contract work at my own leisure, I really must bring myself to do so. It's not as if I need the money, since I already have plenty saved. No, the reason I continue to work is the same reason I was left alone so long ago. That man. That freaking bastard. I know he is somewhere out there, probably captured or something, and one of these days a mission is going to have us cross paths, and I will finally be able to punch him in his stupid face. Because who needs fathers that are that damn useless? I said aloud without realizing it. Sometimes the fact that I've been alone for so long does hit hard. When Vanek suddenly vanished when I was a kid, I was kicked to the streets and forced to fend for myself. It was a constant struggle to stay alive, even more so at the start. But for whatever reason, this society refused to acknowledge me. Since I had no magical energy, I wouldn't register on any emote sense cameras, nor could I use services freely available to anyone to use. So I would use that to my advantage. I was free to go wherever I wanted. If I wanted something or was hungry, I would steal it. If I wanted a nice bed to sleep on, I would borrow a hotel room. And if someone pissed me off, well, people tend to let their guard down with a society that constantly watches over you. But one day, about 4 years ago, I overheard someone talking about Vanex. After some interrogation, I learned that he had some ties to a merc group called Pink Pride. Now, now that I knew where I might find him, and was old enough, I signed up to become a mercenary. Everyone doubted me at first, as I was seen as tiny, helpless woman, but after a few brutal missions, the other mercs saw me in a slightly different light. I had to make myself seem like a monster who did not care about people's lives. To be taken se- ah, I had to seem like a monster who does not seem to care about people's lives, to be taken seriously. I don't know if I actually believe this or not, but after every mission, I do question myself. Why do I continue to fight? Why do I even care about that man? Regardless of those festering feelings, I do as many missions as possible, in the hopes that I will run into Vanix or join Pink Pride. As painful as it was, I managed to pry myself from my trash pile and got dressed in my everyday merc outfit. It is composed of a pair of cargo shorts, combat boots, a bullet resistant tank top, and a hoodie to finish it off. I always liked wearing hoodies, even when it was scorching hot outside, so it was safe to say I had quite the collection. I decided to go with a blue one with a video game mascot on it. Then I started to put on my equipment, bandoliers with various different mags of ammo and grenades. This pouch contained various tools: two daggers, pistols, axe rifle. Oh, okay. Little a pouch that contained various tools: two daggers, pistols, axe rifle, and a large sword. Now, I would never go on a mission with this much gear, but I would need a particular loadout depending on the mission. Everything else would stay at HQ. Everything else I might need, I stuffed in a duffel bag and headed out. On any other class world, a fully armed person walking down the street would cause concern. But for the people on Outlier, it was just another day. I would get the odd glance, as it was weird to see a small woman carrying around an armory, but they would just laugh and return to hating life. Now, I did have to be careful leaving my apartment, as the landlord had a no mercs or thugs policy, since these were the nicer apartments in the area. I somehow convinced him that I was a waitress at a cosplay cafe and that the weapons were just props. And thanks to me not being tagged as lying by Emote Sense, the lie was believed. Though, just out of caution, I did get a job at a cafe, and I try not to let him look at my weapons too closely. With the landlord out of sight, I quickly made my way down the street to HQ. As soon as I reached the mercenary headquarters, I immediately noticed a different atmosphere than usual. There were dozens of mercs outside the nondescript gray building of all types and status, all fully decked out in combat gear. None of them paid me any mind, as they were focused on making sure their equipment was in good shape. Inside HQ was a very similar scene: clusters of armed mercs arguing throughout the reception area. Dimly lit, ugly striped carpets and colorful chairs would be seen in a doctor's office. Since I knew a few of them, it was pretty evident that these were squad leaders, though by the looks of them, they seemed to be new. Oh, by the looks of most of them, they seemed to be newbies. I couldn't tell what they were saying, though, as the general noise level in the room was too high, but from their body language, it seemed to be very heated. Since it wasn't my problem, I decided to walk over the counter where an aged blonde woman was typing away on a computer. "Good morning, Lisa. Busy morning, huh?" I asked casually. "Hun, you wouldn't even know half of it. I had to stay to in-process. I've had to in-process so many greenies today. I think I'm gonna have to go on vacation," she said with an accent that was very prominent in farming colonies. "Something going on? Now, little miss, you know I can't tell you that. It's on a need-to-know basis and all that." "Ah, right. Well, whatever, it's not my problem." "You know, I love that about you. Never sweat the small things." "You know how it is. Gotta keep moving forward and all that." "Very true and very wise. Your mother must be very proud of you." "Anyways," I said, not wanting to have to deal with that right now, "you got any contracts for me?" "Well, I got some, but Ross said he had a big one for you, though he's in a meeting with some important people at the moment." "Any idea when he'll be done?" "He should be wrapping up in the next few minutes. If you want to wait until he's done, feel free to relax, or you can speak to little old me." I took a look around the room and saw that there was very little free space, and what free space there was would probably not provide much comfort. I turned back to Lisa, who was clearly eager to have a chat. "All right, Lisa, what's the latest?" "Well, hun, that depends. You want local gossip or some larger stuff? Let's go with the larger stuff first. Well, on the war side of things, the Empire just won the Battle of Melaxis 5. Melaxis 5? Isn't that near us? Sure is. Isn't that, a bad thing? Well, that's what they want us to think, and the Alliance will definitely be raising our taxes to help the war effort, but we're not in any danger, at least not anytime soon. And why is that exactly? I asked. Lisa is your classic wise old lady, who pretty much knew almost everything. Makes me wonder how she knows all this. Well, you see, since the battlefront hasn't budged in 300 years, battles started to be fought over the same planets. This would mean that once one side won a planet, a few years later, they might lose it. That's why we call this area the War Belt. That sounds like it would be a headache. Oh boy, it was. And these constant wars and planet switching led to many worlds straight up being uninhabitable, which kind of makes taking over them a little pointless. With the Empire and Alliance's weapons, yeah, I could see how constant battles can ruin planets. Yup, so both sides came together and made a whole list of rules regarding the war. The one that we care about, though, is the Planetary Conquest Clause. Pretty much, once a battle has been won and a side lays claim to a planet, that planet is off limits for 100 years. During that time, planet rebuilds and is of use to whoever who won. The only stipulation is that there must be no military activity on said planet for 99 of the 100 years. If there is, then the planet becomes fair game. How would one side even know if another has activity on their planet? Especially if it isn't theirs. Well, hun, that's really simple. Both sides are constantly spying on each other. But if they have spies on a planet, and those spies report back to their command about military activity, won't the other side see that as an act of aggression? Well, in any other time, yes. But you see, this conflict is a little odd. Besides the fact that it's been going on for so long. Oh, there are so many oddities going on, your poor little head will burst if I explain them all. Alright, then what's so odd about the spies? Well, as I said, the one who controls these planets cannot have military activity on it. However, the language on the treaty does not say anything about the opposing side having military activity on said planet. So, what's stopping them from taking over the planet? Well, as long as no hostile action is taken, taken towards the people or the planet, they are not considered combatants. Now, that's not to say that they can't have large bases, as the owner of the planet can claim that it's an act as it's a clear act of aggression and order the base to be destroyed. Wouldn't that be an act of aggression, though? Again, the treaty says that no military activity is allowed on controlled planets. It did not say that acts of aggression were not allowed. So, let's say if the Alliance ordered a group of construction workers to demolish an Empire base, that would perfectly fall in line with the treaty. And the Empire retaliating would be a sign of aggression. Yup, it would spark a conflict on that planet leading to battle, which kind of defeats the purpose of the treaty. So that's why both sides prefer not to establish large bases on a no-combat planet in the War Belt. And if they do, if the base is due to be demolished, they order a full evacuation. All of this just so they can hold on to a bunch of shitty planets? Pretty much. I'm not too sure about the Empire, but the Alliance uses them as Class E planets and sends all the ones they deem useless to. This allows them cheap labor, and they can mess up the environment as much as possible. Not to mention, they can use us all as guinea pigs, or even as war rats. Oh yes, how could I forget? I said sarcastically. So, how long until this planet is up for grabs? About 23 years from now? 23 years from now? Alright. Gotta make sure I find Vanix before then. Oh, you're still looking for that old coot? Yup. Well, when you find him, tell him he owes me a drink, and a nice one at that. I'll just add that to the long list then. You better. Then bring him here, and I want to get a good photo of you two. If he survives. Oh, please, honey. I know you miss him, and I know you'll be crying like a baby when you see him. Please, you think I would cry over him? I do. Even though you say you hate him, and you want to punish him, deep down, you truly miss him. Whatever. Aw, are you feeling all flustered now, hun? Drop it, I spat, wanting this conversation to stop. What's the local news then? Alright, we'll change the subject then. But you can't hide your feelings forever, Lisa said on a gentle note. As for the local news, apparently there was a raid on a local toy factory. Raid? Yup. Apparently someone attacked and fully looted Miss Sammy's Smile Factory. No one was killed, though. So far, authorities believe it was a kid acting as the ringleader. Oh, really now? I responded, desperately trying not to laugh. Any contracts on the ones who did it? Well, the damages done don't really warrant the Alliance to put out a contract, and Miss Sammy's doesn't desire to put one out either. They will just file a claim with their insurance and move on. Well, I guess whoever did the raid must be feeling on top of the world. If that's what you call it, hun. Honestly, what possible money is there in a bunch of toys? They're not even high quality either. Who knows? Might be a part of some grand scheme. Right. And I'm the infamous Data Lord. I don't know, Lisa. For all I know, you could be. You seem to know almost everything. Though that could just be the fact that you are ancient. Oh, didn't your parents teach you not to abuse the elderly? There was a brief moment of silence as I felt a sudden pain in my chest, and Lisa had a look of horrified realization on my face. Oh, Mordred, I'm really sorry. It just slipped out. I opened my mouth to say something, but at that moment the door behind the counter burst open. 5 people, seemingly male and female, wearing black suits, black glasses, and bald, walked out, followed closely by Ross. Ross was saying something to them, but the 5 bald people didn't even acknowledge him. As they reached the door, one looked over to Ross and said something, which caused Ross to frantically write something down on a notepad. And with that, the 5 people were gone, and Ross looked exhausted. He shambled his way over to Lisa and me and tugged on my hoodie. Gesturing for me to follow him, Lisa tried to apologize again, but I couldn't bring myself to look at her. I followed Ross into his office, where he shut the door and activated a thicker, more soundproof door. This meant something serious was about to be discussed. Everything good, Ross? I could ask you the same. You look as white as a ghost, he said dryly. Oh, that's nothing really, just some bad memories popping back up is all. Let me guess. Your parents? Yeah, Ross knew me all too well. I like to give him shit, but he's probably my only real friend. Lisa and I were talking and made a comment about them. Oh, Mordred, I'm really sorry. I'm sure she didn't mean it. She's probably feeling horrible right now. I know. It's just a touchy subject is all. I can understand that. If you want to talk about it, I'm all ears. Nah, I'm good. Once I get a solid contract, that'll take my mind off of it. Always moving forward, huh? You bet. Well, just know it's okay to let it out every now and again. It's not good to bottle it all in. God damn, that was hard to say. As I said, I'm good, I said bluntly. Anyways, you look like you're having problems of your own. What's the deal with those suits? Ross sighed. Normally, he would wear more business casual clothes like slacks and a polo, but today he was in a nice suit. He unbuttoned the top of his jacket and loosened the tie around his neck. That's exactly why I called you in here, he said with utter exhaustion, and why I need to scrounge up as many mercs as I could. Big job or something? Yeah, massive job. What is it then? To put it bluntly, We will be launching an assault on an Empire outpost that was recently spotted. What? I asked with genuine horror and confusion. A raid? On the Empire? Isn't that something more in line with the military? Normally, yes. But the post is here on Outlier. Oh. So they can't take action then. Exactly. But why attack it at all? They can't do anything for 23 years. That is true. They don't pose a risk of attacking us directly. So what is it then? Ross sighed as he pulled out a stack of forms. That is sensitive information. So I'll have to have you sign these forms as I read you in. He handed me a stack of papers, and I began to read through them. I've gone on classified missions before, but they were just at the secret level, and even though I had a top secret clearance, I never had an opportunity to use it. But unlike secret, it seemed TS was a much bigger deal and carried massive consequences for breaches of information. I signed the forms, performed the appropriate emote scans to ensure I was being truthful, and pulled out a small hand scanner. Ah, ensure I was being truthful. He pulled out a small hand scanner, pressed a few buttons, pointed at me, and pressed the scan button. I saw a red flash as the scanner determined I was currently truthful, and since I had no mana for it to scan, it could not detect any lies. After a few moments of silence, the scanner dinged once, indicating I was not lying. I then provided my legal information. Once everything was signed and filled out, Ross looked over the forms to ensure there were no errors. Once he was satisfied, he pulled out a folder. Yesterday, the Alliance sent spies into an empire. Sent its spies into an Empire outpost they found. This was originally for a normal recon, but just to see what the Empire was doing. However, during this recon, we learned something quite shocking. Apparently, this outpost has gone rogue and turned against the Empire. What the hell? How is that even possible? I thought those in the Empire were utterly devoted to their faith. They are. Which makes this all the more serious. Why is it our problem then? What's it to us if they turn traitors? Won't that just help the Alliance? No. No, it will not. Want to know why no one in the Empire turns traitor? Why? Because they die if they do. If their god sees that they abandon their faith, he will smite them. Alright? I'm still failing to see how this is our problem. They are all just gonna drop dead, right? Right. However, their god's smite will cause them to violently explode with a force of 1,000 metric tons of nuclear bombs. What the hell kind of smite is that? One that sends a message. Their god is unforgiving to those that fall off his path, and will punish communities that allow for one of their own to fall. That's pretty brutal. Yes. Yes, it is. Well, why aren't we all dust then? How come their god has not destroyed them yet? Because Emperor Artorius requested they hold off. Why would he care about some backwash classy planet? He's sentimental or something? Not in the slightest. We do not know his reasoning. All we know is he is giving us time. Time for what exactly? If we can execute these ex-church members, that will appease their god, and we won't die in holy fire. Alright, then, why isn't the Alliance doing this? It seems like they got the go-ahead from the Empire, right? Yes, but this mission is considered TS. Only a handful of people know what is going on, and it would be preferred to be kept that way. Even the other Merc squad leaders don't know this. So, to keep up the impression that nothing is going on, the Alliance has to sit this one out. Uh-huh. And why am I one of the few who get to know this? Because you will be performing a critical task. Saving the most important for the best. I see how it is. You are taking favorites, I see. Please. You know I don't do that. The reason you are getting this task is because of your unique ability. So it's like that, huh? Yes. This outpost will have many aura barriers that will prevent any non-aura user from passing through. So I have to break in, deactivate the barriers. That doesn't seem too hard. No, I suspect that you'll be able to take care of that with no problem. The real challenge is your secondary objective, which is, unlike most of the others, there is one member who has not turned traitor. And to make matters more complicated, it's a crusader. Oh, fuck. I could see why this was serious. Crusaders were mighty warriors, considered legendary heroes. So what is our job to rescue this? So what is our job to rescue this crusader and return him to the Empire? No, the Alliance wants to bring him in for questioning. As far as the Empire is aware, every member of that outpost has turned traitor, and we would want to keep. We would rather keep it that way. All right. So I bust in, disable the barriers, go find this crusader, and then what? Ask him nicely to come with me into an Alliance transport. Hopefully, it will be that easy. However, there is a high possibility he will try to resist, in which case, I will have to fight against a superpowered holy juggernaut and somehow subdue him without killing him. Right? Unfortunately, yes. Well, that's gonna be an absolute pain in the ass. But I guess it makes sense why I'm selected for this. Yes. Neither the Alliance nor the Empire know of your special quirk, which definitely gives us the edge. Alright, so what's the pay? Ah. Well, you see, Ross said sheepishly. Ross, what's the pay? I asked again, much more aggressively. Well, as this is a TS op, and neither the Alliance nor the Empire want direct association, you better not say it. There will unfortunately be no pay. God damn it, Ross! I yelled as I stood up violently, causing my chair to fly backwards. Mordred, please hold on. To hell with that! Why the hell would I work without getting paid? How the hell are you paying everyone else, huh? Well, that's simple. I'm not. What? So you're telling me that they are all working for free? Not exactly. Unlike you, Mordred, most of these people owe me a great deal of money. From newcomers' fees, supplies, medical aid, squad costs, it all builds up. That would explain all the rookies. Exactly. I put out a recruitment ad this morning, saying that anyone who joins will have their first 6 months' fees paid, along with a free set of gear, with the expectation that they take part in this mission, right? Yep. You fucking suck. You know that? It's called business, Mordred. I don't expect you to understand. Well, want to know what I do understand? Unlike the others, you don't have shit to offer me or hold over my head. So what's to stop me from just heading home and sleeping through this? Ross pulled another form out and placed it upon his desk. If you do this, I will ensure you are recruited into Pink Pride. He tapped the form, and to my amazement, it was a confirmation form, stating that I was accepted. All it needed was both my and Ross's signatures. You do this for me, I will sign this form. Then you will be part of the most renowned mercenary group in the universe, and access to their resources. So I can find my dad. Exactly. So, what do you say? Are you in? You bet I'm in. Good. Glad to hear it, Ross said with a grin, but something about it rubbed me the wrong way. You are hiding something from me, aren't you? What? Why would I hide something from my favorite merc? Ross, I swear, you better freaking tell me, or I'm putting you in a wheelchair again. Alright. Spoil the surprise. But for the first phase of the mission, you will be working alongside some rookies, Ross said with a devilish smile. I'm sorry, what? Chapter 4. Working with amateurs. There are three types of people I absolutely hate. The first are people who wake me up. The second are those that are just utterly incompetent, and third, are people who waste my time. So, as I looked at the group of amateur mercenaries in front of me, a deep, burning hatred was starting to brew. There were 5 of them, all absolutely covered with various weapons and equipment. They wore knockoff military fatigues and had horrible war paint on their faces. It was pretty clear just by looking at them that they didn't even know how to handle their weapons, as they constantly flagged each other with them. They even talked like newbies, telling apparent lies about how many men they've killed and how hardcore they were. But their faces told the true story. Not a single scar, no missing teeth, and their eyes didn't have the look of someone who killed. No, these fools have never harmed anyone in their lives. But that bastard Ross dropped them off on me. Oi! I said, feeling pretty much done with their shit. Get around here and listen up. They seemed to ignore me, as they continued to boast among each other. Oi, bastards! And Miss Bastards! I said, this time much louder. But, much like last time, no one was listening. Already wishing this was over, I went over to one of the men who was flexing about how badass he was. He was a tall man, easily over 6 foot. He was dark-skinned and admittedly had some impressive muscles. However, it was all apparent that they were just for looks and not for real action. Pulling out my knife, I made a quick slash at the back of the man's heel, severing the Achilles tendon. He immediately collapsed, clutching his quickly bleeding foot, as everyone else stopped what they were doing to look at us. They were slow to pick up on what was going on, but they eventually figured out they were in danger. They started to pull out their weapons, but they were too slow. I dashed over to the second one, also a huge man, and made 2 slashes at his gut in weapon hand. He, too, was quick to go down. By the time they put any effort into defending themselves, I was already at the third person, a smallish woman, and already placed my knife in her kneecap. The remaining 2 began to open fire at me. However, their aim was sloppy and frantic. They were more danger to their allies and themselves than me. Whenever I got into scraps like this, it always felt like things got a little bit slower. As such, I was able to see projectiles and other attacks and have just enough time to either defend or dodge, which is fortunate, as any of the bullets these two, which was fortunate as any of these bullets these 2 fired, I managed to narrowly avoid. Rather than using my knife on the next man, I decided just to punch him in his throat, causing the windpipe to partially cave in. Now was the last man, who realized that guns would not do the trick here, who threw his gun away and charged. Meatheads like this always believed their sheer weight was enough. It was no effort in dodging the man's attacks, as he was much like a raging bull, but slower in both mind and body. After I dodged him for the 3rd time, I decided to lay a little trap. I pulled out a smoke grenade and rolled it on the floor without taking out the pin, and just like I expected, the meathead did not see it as it rolled under his foot, causing him to lose control and fly towards the nearest wall. Though this did not down him, it definitely stunned him. I took the chance to hop on the man's back and wrapped my arm around his neck. Although it was meaty, I found just the right place to put pressure. The man tried to fight back, but it was clear that he was quickly starting to lose consciousness. Soon, his body went limp, where I dropped his body to the ground and delivered a kick to his thick skull. I took a look around the room and was glad to see that everyone was staying down, though they didn't really have a choice. With this small lesson over, I went over to a nearby medical kit and grabbed 5 things of Metagel, along with a few instant action ice packs, and I went around to all those seriously injured and began to treat their wounds, though I made sure to knock them out first. Metagel is a fast-acting combat spray that can heal most minor wounds, though, once everyone was patched up, I gathered a few chairs from the nearby broom closet, dragged their limp bodies on them, and topped it off by placing a small black square on their necks. I then grabbed a chair for myself and started to wait. Eventually, they started to wake up, and they seemed to be in shock. Once the more petite woman woke up, did I finally begin to speak. Oi! Oi! You dumbasses! Did you learn a valuable lesson? I said in the most mocking way possible. The small woman was the first to speak up. What the hell is your problem, you dumb bitch? Yeah, what you attacking us for? Said one of the more prominent men. Yeah, why you being crazy? Said another. I couldn't help but laugh. If everyone looked mad before, it was safe to say they were pissed now. I'm sorry. It's just funny how you were all talking hot shit, but you all went down so easily. It was clear I hit a nerve as one of the men tried to charge me. But unfortunately for him, I pressed a button on my phone, and he went down like a sack of rocks as minor electrical currents surged through him. Ah, see, I wouldn't recommend being a dumbass. It's best if you just sit there and listen. And who the fuck are you? The woman said. Well, first and foremost, I'm the person who kicked all your asses, I mocked. But seriously, I am the one in charge of you all. What? Who the hell decided that? I'm the one in charge here. Well, you might be in charge of those weaklings, but I'm the lead on this mission. And if you have any questions, I'm sure Ross could clear some things up for, I said, as Ross slipped inside, trying not to bring attention to himself. Ross, what the hell is going on here? Did you really put this crazy cunt in charge? The woman shrieked. Ross looked like someone who walked into the wrong bathroom and desperately wanted to be somewhere else. Nervously, he began to speak. Yeah, she's the one in charge of you all. What the actual fuck? Are you fucking kidding me? This crazy hoe literally attacked us. Well, I wouldn't really call it attacking. And more of a teaching a valuable lesson, I chimed in. How the hell is that teaching us a lesson? Well, you were acting like hot shit, so I decided to knock you all down a peg. Plus, you guys were wasting my time. Ross, you can't be fucking serious. There is no way in hell this child could be in charge. Well, Ross began. Well, to be blunt, she is a better merc than any of you, and on this mission, you will need to rely on her expertise to come back alive. Okay, what possible mission are we doing where we have to work with her? Well, I was going to explain that when you decide to do your own thing, I added in. But essentially, we will be assaulting an outpost full of aura users. Your job will be to follow me in the base, where you will cause as much chaos as possible, as our other forces will be launching a larger assault away from us. Alright, so we follow you in and cause trouble. But what about you? Said one of the less meaty men. I will be the one who will make an infiltration point, so you can all cause your chaos. Then, with your distraction and the assault, I'll deactivate the main aura barriers. From there, it's classified. But once the barriers are down, you will join up with the main force and finish cleaning up the rest of the base. Classified? What the hell does that mean? Ross jumped in. It means it's none of your business. Your job is to be meat slabs and shoot things and get shot at, not to ask questions. Couldn't have said it better myself, I said. Now, let me explain some of the specifics before we actually head out. Since we'll be going against aura users, arc weaponry has been permitted, even unqualified ones. Well, even unqualified users. Any questions? One of the guys raises their hand. Yeah? So why aren't we using arc weapons? Wouldn't normal ones do just fine? I gave a pained sigh as I looked over to Ross, who gave me a please don't shrug. All right, looks like I'm gonna have to give you all a quick crash course. What can any of you tell me about the relationship between magic and arc? Isn't it created from magic or some shit? The woman said. Well, it's not created from magic. It's created by exposing trace amounts of arc to magical energy. The arc then eats away at the magical energy, leaving behind more arc. Now, magical energy is all over the universe and is constantly expanding at a slow rate. Magical energy is also created by living beings, which we call mana. Mana is a key part of living beings, essentially considered their life force. So if a creature is exposed to arc, they would be instantly dead, as their bodies would be consumed by the electrical energy. Uh, then why aren't we dead then? Huh? I think my foot massager is arc powered. So how come I'm still here? One of the guys said. I sighed. Where the hell did Ross grab these guys? Most devices we use are powered by arc, since it's powerful and an abundant energy source. The reason people don't die when they use arc is because the arc energy is contained within an insulated battery. As such, energy only goes into the device and not into organics. There is also a massive difference between raw arc and refined arc, but I didn't want to be here all day. There's also devices that extract some of your mana and convert it into arc. These devices are generally more powerful than normal arc devices, and are most commonly cybernetic implants. Now, objects can be imbued with arc. Instead of being insulated, arc is instead coated on objects. When this object is then exposed to something made of magic, the arc will then start the conversion process. Which, uh, if shot at people, they get turned into arc? One of the slower men said. Exactly. This is why use on ordinary people is strictly prohibited. Death by arc is a quite horrible death, so use is only authorized against aura users and mages. Usually, one would have to acquire a license from the Alliance to use such objects, but in this particular case. Alright, but you said that stuff is effective against magic. Ain't auras some type of holy god shit? Yes, but it's also very similar to arc. Like arc, aura is created from magical energy, except instead of consuming the magic, aura expands it and becomes much more potent. This is why aura's miracles seem much more powerful than any mage's spell. Now, I'm not going to explain the uses of aura, but just know that these guys have it, will attack with it, and will use it to defend themselves. And exposing yourself to aura could kill you if the user wants to. Either you just fall over dead, akin to a freshly roasted deer, or you'll explode in holy fire. That sounds pretty unfair. Oh, it definitely is. And to make it worse, they are hard to kill as well. They essentially use aura as a shield, literally using their faith to protect them. So while normal weapons do work, it will take a lot of effort to even smudge them. Instead, we rely on arc. When aura is exposed to arc, or vice versa, the two energy sources cancel each other out. This means that if aura enters into an arc powered device, the device will no longer function. And if arc enters an aura user, they will find that the exposed area is no longer protected, which then allows that very attack to do critical damage. So, pretty much, use arc weapons we gave you to hurt the holy people. Make them go dead. Got it? They all mumbled in agreement. Once I answered a few more stupid questions, I managed to get them out the door and onto the transport. Since this was a stealth op, I decided to go light. I brought my pistols, daggers, arc grenades, and axe rifle in case things got a bit heated. The rifle was a high-powered rifle that had a gnarly axe head at the top. It was admittedly heavy, but I can deal with it. Once I was properly geared up, I went over to the transport and we set off. We flew for about an hour when we reached the site of the outpost. Admittedly, this area looked very similar to the one we were just in, but this was what the whole planet looked like. One large, overpopulated city. Once we were dropped off, I saw signs of other units as they flashed their markers. I flashed mine to signal that we were ready to move and was set to switch the command chest We were ready to move and was set to switch the command channel. However, I had a few things to say to these guys. I turned towards the mercs. Alright, here we are. Things are going to get rough, so listen closely. I do not give an absolute fuck if you live or die. Your job is pretty much bait. You make it out alive, great. But I ain't going to lose sleep if any of you kick the bucket. Nor will I go out of my way to save any of you. Got it? Though we might work together, merc work is mainly about survival. And going out of your way to save other dumbasses is one quick way to die. Got it? The feisty woman responded. Okay, so if they're gonna kill you, we shouldn't help. Exactly. Though, I ain't like you. They'll have to try pretty hard to kill me, I said in a deservingly cocky tone. With that said, I tuned into the command channel on ArcNet and signaled that we were ready to head in. Once I got the all clear signals from the other leaders, I gestured my team forward. The next few seconds were very animated as explosions rocketed the outpost. While many war cries could be heard, gunfire soon followed as one could see the explosions of holy energy in the distance. The newbies looked like they realized what they finally were dealing with, which seemed to bother them. Don't focus over there. Focus on what's in front of you. That's how you survive, by looking out for yourself, I yelled as we reached the wall of the outpost. I looked around for a maintenance panel, which would lead to the maintenance shaft. It took me a bit to find it, and the newbies were looking more and more nervous. Once I finally found it, I pried it open and took a look inside. Just as I expected, there was an aura barrier to keep non-aura users out. I began to take off my equipment and handed everything over to a terrified-looking man. You are going to hold on to these while I get that barrier down, okay? The man nodded. The woman looked like she wanted to ask a question, but a nearby explosion caused her to jump. I started to crawl into the shaft, armed with only my multi-tool. Unlike arc-powered multi-tools, which use the user's mana to create whatever tool is needed, this one was more basic. Plastic with metal sharpened into many heads that served many purposes. As I crawled, I eventually came across the barrier. It looked very much like glass and had a distinct gold glimmer to it. Unlike Arc, I have barely interacted with Aura, but that didn't really matter. Despite that, I was still nervous as hell. Creatures with mana would die if they tried to cross, but luckily for me, I was able to cross with no issue. I found the power box for the barrier, opened it to reveal a crystal made out of solidified aura. I quickly yanked it out and placed it into my pack for later. I then called out to my team, who then came crawling into the vent behind me. I got my gear back from the guy who looked like he wanted to faint, and we pressed on. The Empire was generally very cocky about their barriers and typically only put up a single layer, which meant that we could move on without issue. Inside the vents, we were able to see into the main hallways of the outpost, and it looked very chaotic. Priests and knights were running back and forth, carrying all sorts of supplies. I took a look at my tactical map and saw that we were close to this central barrier control. All I would have to do is follow this vent. I looked back at the team and gave them a smile. Time to see what you're made of, I explained as I activated my arc knife and sliced cleanly through the vent, causing it to bend, then break. I was safe, as I was on the part of the vent that was supported by a wall, but my teammates were directly above the hallway and went with the vent as it fell. Both they and the knights were extremely confused. But the mercs soon realized I gave them the source of cover and started to use it as they opened fire. I couldn't help but smile. I continued down the vents as the outpost was rocked by artillery fire. Not that I would do any good, this place was most likely made out of hardened aura, but if that's the case, then that would mean some priests were around strengthening it. No, worry about that later. For now, I'm getting closer to the main barrier control. As you see, the Empire is not very creative with its base designs, meaning that almost every single one of their bases, outposts, and forward operating bases all share a similar layout to each other. So, thanks to this, even an outdated schematic of an Empire facility would still prove accurate. And just as the TAC map indicated, I was right on top of the barrier control. Just like with magical energy, I could see both arc and aura energies by shifting my focus, though I can only view one energy type at a time. There appeared to be 5 guards in the room. There was one paladin, 2 knights, and 3 squires. I could tell because of a unique property of aura that many in the Alliance don't know about. Unlike arc, which is considered wild in nature, aura is much more controlled. That control laying with their god of light. Thus, the ratio of aura plays a heavy role in their society and social structure. Those with the lowest being ordinary citizens have about a 10% aura, 90% mana. The more aura one has, the more control the god has over them, but they become more powerful as a benefit. However, there is a limit, as if complete control is given over, the person is no longer able to. Well, the person no longer retains their own identity. What happens to them after that? I have no idea. While the warriors below me weren't all that powerful, the paladin might prove a challenge. I slowly sliced a small hole in the vent to get an actual visual of what I was up against. It seemed I was correct in my assessment of the below warriors. While they all had different sets of armor, they were very similar looking. Pure white armor with gold trimming, with the crest of the Empire. The crest was a star that sat above a sword, placed in front of a spiral galaxy. However, these warriors seemed to have painted a red X over their crest, signaling their defiance to the church. The squires wore chainmail with a cloth overshirt. The knights wore a mix of chainmail and plate mail. And much to my irritation, the paladin wore full plate mail. All of it was most likely made out of hardened aura. This meant getting past them would be a little bit more complicated, as breaking through hardened aura is more complex than average. Arc weapons still work, but you have to make multiple attacks in order to appear in a precise area or a single powerful attack. Fortunately, I planned ahead and had something that might just work. With the plan mostly figured out, I jumped into motion. I pulled out my axe and loaded a high caliber arc anti-tank round. Next, I prepped 2 arc grenades and finally 1 smoke grenade. I tossed the 2 arc grenades in rapid succession and waited for them to set off. Once they did, I followed it up with the smoke. I then focused on Aura's energy and saw that 3 squires were immediately killed, the 2 knights wounded, and a paladin dazed. Wasting no time, I leapt from the vent and took aim at the paladin's head. While I designed this thing for shock absorption, the kick of my axe rifle never failed to stagger me, especially when I was using such powerful rounds. However, my shot found its mark as the paladin crumpled to the ground. Now all that was left were the 2 knights, who seemed to be staggering around blind. My guess was that they were trying to look for a source of mana. How unfortunate. I gripped my axe by the lower and upper shaft and ready to swing at the nearest knight. I wasn't going for anything fancy, just a clean chop at his head. My axe broke through the helmet, and the sound of metal against bone gave me slight chills. The knight went limp. The knight went limp as I used my leg to help leverage my axe out of their head. However, it seemed that the other knight heard the commotion and started wildly swinging in my direction. But it soon became apparent that he had no real target, as his slashes were wide and sloppy. I then felt something grab my foot and noticed that 1 squire was still alive, though barely. Feeling practically fiendish, I picked up the squire, stood him on his feet, and pushed him in front of the knight as he made another long slash. Though his attacks were wild, it seemed he wasn't holding back, as he sliced cleanly through the squire's chest, severing him in 2. And just as I planned, The knight believed it was over and momentarily lowered his guard. I used this moment to find a small. I used this moment to find a nice hole in his armor, pulled out my pistol loaded with arc rounds, and began to open fire. The knight didn't know what hit him until he did not know him as he collapsed to the floor. The smoke started to clear, so I switched my vision back to normal. All 5 of the soldiers were dead, with the paladin's head being absolutely obliterated. The round I used might have been a bit too much, as those were designed with crusaders in mind. Regardless, they were all dead, and I was able to continue my mission. I went over to the nearby console. However, it seemed that it was password protected, which would make sense. The base was under attack, and that this is a sensitive terminal. However, just like with the other barrier, there had to be a power source, one large enough for a barrier of that size. I looked closely at the map and saw that there was a large compartment right below me. However, I saw no way of opening it. I began to think of ways of busting it open, under the impression that it was made out of hardened aura. However, I had a nagging feeling in my gut that I should check. So I switched focus to look for hardened aura, and much to my surprise, only the walls and the soldier's armor were composed of it. The floor was made out of regular metal, which meant I had a way in. I pulled out a few regular explosive grenades and sent them for a 10-second detonation. I used this time to hop back into the vent and well away from any possible shrapnel. There was a large explosion, though it seems plenty was going on outside this room. I went back into the barrier control and saw that my plan worked, and a large aura crystal was sitting in the center, shining brightly. These crystals were more akin to batteries than hardened aura. This could be destroyed pretty quickly, even small arms could break them. However, without arc, there would be a violent explosion of aura, killing all nearby living creatures. Well, most of them. I pulled out my pistol and began to open fire, causing the crystal to shatter. Holy energy violently erupted from the crystal and into the surrounding area. I walked out of the barrier control, calling in that the barriers had been deactivated. Loud cheers could be heard through the comms as the sounds of explosions and gunfire intensified. Out of curiosity, I decided to switch over to my team's channel, and it was immediately hard to tell what they were saying, as all of them were talking at once. But it was apparent they were in a tough spot. I opened the nav and looked at where they were and where my next objective was. Where I was currently positioned, there were 2 paths to the objective. My team was located on one of these paths. However, it was the longest one, and the sound of fighting was greater in that direction. By all means, I'm entirely justified in heading straight to the objective, as that is what I'm being paid to do. That's what I'm being asked to do. And they are getting paid to be a distraction for me, which is precisely what they are doing. But as hard as I try to make myself seem, I couldn't just let these guys die, especially under my command. I began to make my way towards them, looking to see what I would be up against. The forces attacking them was made purely of knights and squires, and the team was pinned down. I couldn't take all these guys on myself, even with a surprise on my side, and using smoke would be too risky, as I couldn't cover the whole area, and I would be making my team blind as well. I placed myself behind a wall, ensuring nobody would see me. Hey team, it's me. I have a visual on you, and I could see that they have you pinned down, I said into my comm device. We're getting it pretty hard over here, the female responded, clearly out of breath. What's your status? No one's gone down, but we have 2 wounded. We're also running low on ammo. What else? Do you have any explosives? We have a few, arc, and a single concussion. Alright, that might just work. However, I'm gonna need you to follow my orders exactly. Alright? Whatever you say. Alright, look at your TAC nav and see my position. Copy. I see you on the map. Okay. I need you to cook an arc grenade and throw it directly at me. What? That's way too close to either of us. Just trust me. As one of you throws the arc, have another throw a concussion grenade directly behind you. Once both are done, run as fast as you can in the direction of the concussion grenade, and try to take out as many soldiers as you can. However, focus on finding decent cover first. Are you sure about this? Just do it. Alright, following your orders. The two grenades were thrown in their respective directions. I hopped out of my cover and switched my focus to arc energy. I pulled out the aura crystal from earlier, and, trying to align as best I could, I threw the crystal directly into the arc grenade. Both collided, causing a massive concussive blast that irradiated electricity, red electricity, and holy light before nothing remained. All the soldiers that were within the radius were suddenly reduced to ash, the effects of arc and aura colliding. I looked at my nav and saw that my team was still alive, though pinned down, but this time by a much more manageable force. I went behind the fallen air duct from earlier and pulled out my rifle. I switched out the anti-tank rounds for armor piercing and took aim. I'll start picking off the ones closest to you. Once I do, start to open fire. I'll start to open fire and to draw them out. Sorry. I'll start picking off the ones closest to you. Once I do, begin to open fire to draw them out. I'll take out whoever sticks their heads out. Copy that. In rapid succession, I downed 3 knights, all cleanly through the skulls. As I did, the teammates who could fight began open fire on the remaining soldiers. And just as I planned, as there were lulls in the squad's fire, the soldiers would peek their heads out, allowing me to pick them off. It didn't take long for the remaining knights and squires to be finished off, though I ordered the team to double tap them all just in case. With everything primarily safe, they came over to me. Hey, odd seeing you here, I said coolly. Hey, thanks for the save, the woman said, slightly embarrassed. Save? What save? I was just on my way to the next objective. But this would be the longer. Nah, the other way was cut off, and the vents didn't lead there. So this was the only open route. Well, okay, still, thanks for the save, the woman said sincerely. Like I said before, I'm not gonna risk my neck for you all. That's not what I'm getting paid for. Using you all just made my job easier. Right. I guess you did say that. Yep, so don't forget it. But I have to ask something. About how badass I am? Well, kinda. That move you pulled there. What exactly was it? And how'd you survive? Oh, that. Whenever equal forces of arc and aura collide, they will mutually cancel each other out, causing all magic nearby to go haywire and eventually completely disappear, leaving a small space of nothing. As a result, any living creature in the area turns to dust. Okay. Then how come you're fine? Oh, I just dodged at the last second. Yeah, but nothing. Everything is fine. You guys are safe, and the way is clear for me. I'd say that is a solid V. Alright. Whatever you say. Damn right. I'm your awesome squad leader. I guess you are. Anyway, you all need medical attention. Go out through where we came in and call an evac shuttle. What about joining the assault? The others got it, and with so little ammo and wounded, how are you going to be any help? I guess you got a good point. Alright, then I guess we'll head out. Thanks, Mordred. Yeah, just get out of here. Oh crap. I never learned their names. It's Clarice. I'm sure the others will introduce themselves when they recover a bit. I couldn't help but smile. Though I tried my hardest not to let it show. I'll be looking forward to it. Take care, Clarice. I waved the squad off as they made their way into the vents and out of the outpost. Now, all that remained was the Crusader. Gonna take a quick water break. Lots and lots of talking. Okay. Alright, time to continue. Chapter 4.5. A Question of Faith. Never in my life did I think I'd be standing against my brother, holy blade in hand, attempting to spill his blood. And yet, here I was, doing just that. It felt wrong. But lately, so much felt that way. I do not know when things started to take this turn, but we all became the devils we sought to destroy somewhere along the way. I braced for another attack, as my fellow crusader unleashed a flurry of blows with his twin holy swords. Though I desperately did not want to attack one I fought so many battles with, my body was too honed to combat. The following moves were automatic, as I used my pauldron to bounce off the attack, followed up with an overhead slice from my greatsword, honor-bound. Though it seemed that I had some level control, as my slice was more superficial than lethal. Orthus, please stand down. It's over. The duel is done. We do not have to do this, I said, trying to reason with my dear friend. Tyrus, my dear, foolish brother. As long as you side with the Empire, I will not stop, Orthus said solemnly. But why? You are an honored member of the Empire's Royal Guard. We fought countless battles together, all in the name of the light. Don't you pull that on me. You know better than anyone how much I respected Arthur. How much I still treasure the light. Then why turn against us? Why go against everything we stood for? Orthus began to laugh. A laugh of a man who has lost something dear to him. Turn against something I stood for? My dear, foolish brother. Don't you see? We all turned against what we stood for ages ago. What do you mean by that? Oh, come on, Tyrus. You of all people know what I am referring to, with your code and all. Orthus. He sighed, as blood dripped from his chest, his wound quickly healing. However, he remained exhausted. No. I cannot hold this against you. Arthur kept you from going specifically because of your code. Orthus managed to get to his feet. My last mission, the one where we were sent into the New Belt, did not go as expected. What happened? I tried to view the reports, but everything was classified. They even kept me from speaking to the other members of the Royal Guard. Yes, I am aware of that, which is why I suspect you came here of your own accord. When Arthur spoke of your treachery, I could not believe it. So despite his orders, I came here to see the claims for myself. Yes, that's one of the many things I admire about you. Always willing to give people the benefit of the doubt. Well, now's your chance. I suspect those explosions we are hearing are the Alliance working to stop Nephistus from destroying this world. I knew this would come, hence why I told the men not to go all out. We don't need more blood on our hands. Orthus, tell me what happened. All right, brother. I will. We were originally sent to the New Belt to check out possible human settlements. As you know, planets in the New Belt attempt to create a third, official faction outside the Alliance and Empire. They have a simple desire, to distance themselves from magic altogether, along with anything that derives from it. Just like the dragons. Exactly. We all thought it was weird that such a strong force was sent on a recon mission. However, the truth was soon revealed. As soon as we touched boots on the planet, we were told to scorch the earth, to leave none alive. When we questioned the order, we were told that these people were heretics. Despite them being neutral and not part of the church. Exactly. We followed orders, as we didn't have much information at the time. By the time we finished, we had committed genocide on a massive scale. But why? Why kill those that did nothing wrong? The same reason we started the war with the dragons. To keep the war going. Orthus, you're not saying what I think you're saying. I am, and I suspect you feel the same. This war has gone on far too long. Both sides have had chances to push their way into enemy territory and haven't. They even made a damn treaty about the areas of planets that they can be fought on, just to ensure those planets were worth fighting for. Why? I don't know. But I've asked that myself. I have tried to look for the answers. However, the powers at large are keeping the true information close to their chest. So what? Openly defy the Empire just to die a traitor's death? Come on, Orthus, you're smarter than that. How can you find the Empire? How can you find the answers simply by dying? That's just it. I will never be able to find the answers. Not under the Empire. Not under the Empire. Not under the thumb of the Empire. Okay. Damn it. None under the thumb of the Empire can. Except for you. I see. So that's why you did all this. As both an act of aggression, but to also win me over to your side. Yes. You are Arthur's justice. The freely moving sword that judges all, the church included. If you were to move against them, you would not be sharing my fate. What if I decide not to? What if I decide to remain true to the Empire? That is your choice. My goal was only to open your eyes and allow you to see more. Oh, one of my panels just fell. Up. Up, where was I? Up, another panel just fell. Damn it. However, I do have 3 requests. And what would those be? The one who assisted me in getting you here desires to speak to you himself. Unlike me, he will tell you more about the intentions behind the war. He did not trust me enough to disclose that information, as I am just a tool. Who is this man? I do not know. He kept his identity a secret as we spoke through a chain of messages. However, I do know that you will encounter him. This brings me to my second request. There is a young woman on her way here now. We had to pull many strings to get her here, even going so far as to kidnap an Alliance dignitary's son. I need you to follow her, to watch over her, to act as her shield. I do not know why, but she is key to all of this. And can I assume this man will clarify the importance of this woman? Yes. I do not know much myself. You could claim that I am just a messenger. Well, you succeeded. I will carry out your first 2 requests, as they do not conflict with my code. Orthus smiled. Thank you, brother. What of your third request? Unlike the others, this one is much more selfish. It is required that I must die. If I do not, I will cause massive suffering to those that live here. As such, I have resigned myself to that fate. However, I wish to die by the blade of a worthy warrior. It is what I am owed for all my time served. Orthus, I don't think you must. I've committed many evils in my life, most of which I did blindly. My vision is finally clear, and I am horrified at what I have become. We once took pride in our oaths to bring justice across the universe and to protect the innocent. But somewhere along the way, our religion and our faith took two separate paths. If one follows the teaching of one path, they will be dishonoring the other. And while I could continue faithfully serving the Empire, I would be betraying not only my faith, but the very code we swore to uphold. So, Tyrus, I demand you punish me, for I have become a devil against life. As such, you are honor-bound to slay me. I closed my eyes. I felt a deep pain within my chest. I understood where he was coming from. If I were in his position, I would probably request the same. All right, Orthus. I will do as you request. I lifted my blade, honor-bound, and pointed it straight at him. I, Lord Tyrus William III, hereby condemn you for your sins, for the act of slaughtering citizens, along with many other crimes against life and humanity. At this moment, I sentence you to death. Orthus clutched his blades. The exhaustion he seemingly felt now washed away. The once defeated man now had an ounce of life restored. Thank you, brother, he said as he lunged forward. I did not bother attempting to block, instead pushing forward with tremendous strength. As the twin holy blades collided with my gauntlet, a long cling rang throughout the air. Orthus's blades went flying out of his hands and clattered against the floor. I could see him smile, as memories of our past duels probably played inside his head. Without words needed to be spoken, I understood the look on his face. Keeping true to my word, I raised my sword and brought it down with the same fury I would against any other sinner. Orthus's head rolled onto the floor as his body collapsed. Though I felt incredible pain for having slain a brother, it was comforting knowing that he went out on his own terms, something that many cannot say. I brought myself down to a knee and closed my eyes. No matter who, no matter their faith, all those that I fight in an honorable duel are due words of respect. Orthus, though you saw yourself as a sinner, I do not see you as such. You were but a mere tool, used by those that hold true evil in their hearts. No, I see you as a hero, who put his life on the line in an attempt to correct the wrongs of others. For that, brother, I respect you. I hope wherever you find yourself, you can get the rest you deserve. Until we meet again, I wish you well. I opened my eyes as I felt a single tear inch its way down my cheek. However, it was not time for mourning, as something felt wrong. As a crusader, we are highly attuned to both magic and aura. As such, we can sense it like a sound or smell. I was well aware of the battle around us, as surges of magic and aura were aplenty. However, something else was there. No, more like something wasn't there. Between all the arc, aura, and magic, there was a small gap in it all. A seemingly empty space that moved very quickly. Though I couldn't be entirely sure, it seemed to make a human-shaped hole in the area. Regardless, it seemed to be heading straight towards me, so I would be receiving my answers soon enough. I raised my sword, bracing myself for a fight. Through the door came a small woman came running in. She was holding an axe that was dripping with blood, which also stained her blue jacket. It was clear she was some form of warrior, most likely an assassin, judging by the knives and other such tools she carried. However, though I noticed all that, I couldn't help but focus on her face. Though bruised and scarred, she had a gentle and kind face. She had vivid, scarlet eyes that glittered like a jewel, and despite being stained by dust and blood, it was apparent her hair was white as snow. I felt a surge of memories overcome me as I looked at the woman, completely stunned. Lady Reyna? Chapter 5. Absolute Pain. Even though we took out many soldiers, there was still the odd one here and there, seemingly hiding in the corners. I would be running down the hallways where one squire or knight would hop out of nowhere and try swinging wildly at me. The first one caught me by complete surprise, slicing cleanly through my hood and shirt, cutting deeply into my skin. It seemed as if they were just It seemed that they were just as surprised as me, as immediately after the strike, they stumbled and fell over. Absolutely pissed, I lodged my axe deeply into the poor fool's skull. One major thing when it comes to melee combat is if your aim is to kill, make sure you go for the chest or head. Anything else will just be a waste of time and energy. I looked at the blade the bastard used, and of course it was hardened aura. I pulled out a syringe of Metagel and applied it to the wound. Though it was bleeding a lot, it was mainly just a surface damage. Now that I was aware that there were still stragglers, my guard was up. Whenever another squire or knight would leap out, I could dodge their attack and deliver a quick and deadly blow. By the time I finally got to the target's location, I must have downed at least 10 people. There were a few casters, all of which went down quickly. They would try to cast one of their holy spells at me, however, it would prove laughably ineffective. Once they realized their attacks were pointless, they attempted to run, but soon dropped dead after a few well-placed shots on their back. The real challenge was the ones armed with projectiles. They functioned much like guns, however their ammunition was hardened aura and could only be used by them. A few got a lucky shot on me, though they were definitely panicked and not aiming for anything critical. Just like arc rounds, aura rounds were still physical bullets, just coated with the respective energies. So while I wasn't affected by the aura, I still got fucking shot. I took down the bastards and continued my search. When I got to the suspected location, I heard the sounds of metal bashing against other metal, along with voices speaking to each other. Whatever it was, it must have been dire. I switched focus to look for aura and saw that two influential aura fighters were fighting. Comparing them to the others I've seen, these two must have been crusaders, which meant that my target was inside. The two seemed to be talking, though one definitely had the advantage, as one seemed to be on the ground. As I approached the door and found it locked, I was unsure if the target was the one standing or not. But if it was, I had to act quickly. This seemed to be a standard magnet lock, which meant there was an access panel nearby. It didn't take me long to find it, and I would rip off the covering to reveal various wires. I had to find the power cable, as that was what was keeping the door closed. The two figures appeared to be still talking, though I couldn't tell what, as most of it was muffled, but my gut told me that their conversation was coming to a close. I did end up finding the power cable and sliced through it, deactivating the door. Though the magnets were reactive, they didn't immediately open the door, as that would have to be hand opened. I began to pry the doors open as I switched to aura to see how things were going. It seemed as if talks were over, and the two seemed to be fighting once more. Though it would seem as if it would be a quick match, as one found themselves back on the ground. By the time I actually opened the door, one of the two auras vanished, leaving only one remaining. It may not have been too late, and my target could still be alive. Seeing as stealth would be too slow, I burst inside, axe drawn, ready for anything. In front of me was a bloody sword. In front of me, with a bloody sword, 3 times my size, stood a very tall individual. They wore similar white armor with an imperial crest. However, if the paladin I saw before wore plate, this person was wearing a tank. Just the pauldrons were 5 inches thick, decorated in elegant gold drawings. They wore a white cape lined with gold. Their helmet looked like a classic Templar cross helm, along with golden wings at the top. If I didn't know any better, I believed that this was not a man, but a robot. But I knew better. The Empire would never use robots, and robots weren't capable of having aura, much less this much. Though I couldn't see their face, it was clear the hulking, holy man was closely looking at me, most likely sizing me up. In a deep, metallic tone, the Crusader said something. "Lady, Reyna?" it asked, in a questioning tone a small child would use. Honestly, I had no idea what to expect. I know these guys can use spoken words to cast their miracles, but they tend to be a bit more, to put it bluntly, holy? Not some freaking question. Not exactly sure what to do, I just stood there, cocking my head in confusion. Uh, excuse me? The giant dropped his sword and took a few steps towards me. "Lady Reyna, is that you?" I took a few steps back and raised my axe. Uh, are you the target? You know, the guy who isn't a traitor to the Empire? "No, Lady Reyna. I am not like the others. For now, I remain true to the Empire." "Oh, hell yeah! I was worried that it was you who was dropped." I lowered my axe, as it seemed as if this guy wasn't hostile. "So, you think you could come with me?" "Lady Reyna, it's been too long. When I heard the news, I was devastated. But to see you alive and well brings me so much joy." "Hey, buddy? I have zero idea what you're talking about," I tried to say, but things soon took a horrible turn. The giant charged at me with insane speed, arms wide open as if to grab me. I tried to lift my axe in some attempt to defend myself, but it was of no use. The giant grabbed hold of me, wrapping his giant arms around my small frame, pressing my face against the shiny white armor. I would have said it felt like a hug. However, the pressure he was putting on me was too damn much. "What the hell?" I managed to croak before my airways got too crushed. The giant began to cry. "Lady Reyna, I blame myself for it all. If only I could convince Arthur to forgive you, we wouldn't have been separated for so long. Maybe. Maybe." His crying seemed to grow in intensity, making deciphering what he was saying impossible. As he cried, he continued to apply more and more pressure. I started to feel my bones begin to snap as my vision began to start to go blurry. I knew I had to do something, but the man took off his helmet to reveal what was best to call an angelic face. He had shining golden eyes, golden hair, and very soft features. Shining tears were trickling down his face as he looked down at me. This seemed to be my chance. I squirmed my way close enough to his face and took a large old bite. This seemed to be a massive mistake, though, as it seemed his skin was made out of concrete or something. As all I did was hurt myself. The guy didn't even seem to notice my sad attempt and continued to apply more pressure. At this point, I realized I was pretty fucked. Even if I somehow managed to get out of this, most of my bones were probably broken, and organs were probably ready to pop. There was a brief moment where I was given enough room to breathe, and I took it. And I took advantage. "Oi, you fucking dumbass! I'm not this damn Reyna!" My name is Mordred. Why are those three falling? Damn it. Damn you. It seemed as if I said the magic word, as the pressure was immediately relieved, and I flopped onto the floor, body entirely numb. But, the giant began, Lady Reyna would never use such language. But that name. Whatever was said next, I had no idea. The numbness started to fade as the pain was unbearable. As the Crusader looked at me in concern, the world went dark and I was out. Though I was out, I still had some sense of what was going on, as there were moments where I regained consciousness. The Crusader checked to see if I was still alive and tried to apply some of his healing miracles on me. Seems like he didn't get the memo. He then looked through my supplies to see if there was anything to stabilize me. Still, Metagel only works on surface wounds, and these were definitely not surface. He tried to ask me some questions, but I was too out of it to understand. Eventually, he got a hold of my phone and saw the location I was supposed to head to. He then grabbed my sword, gear in one hand and lifted me on his shoulder with the other. He ran through the hallways of the outpost, slicing through any traitors that were in our way. Rather than looking for an exit, the tank found the closest point to the evac zone and started to literally beat down the wall. And as impossible as it should have been, he managed to burst through, running into the active war zone. A few traitors and mercs took the odd shot at him, but anything that got close was reflected off a golden shield that reflected around us. Well, that golden shield that surrounded us. We did eventually reach the evac zone, where the giant was adamant about holding on to me. The Alliance suits who were doing the pickup allowed him to. Ah. The Alliance suits who were doing the pickup allowed him to, as they allowed us onto the shuttle. The giant placed me onto a stretcher and continued to hold my hand. Whenever the medics tried to administer aid, he would give them a hard time, threatening them if they caused me any harm. But he would eventually concede and allow them to do their jobs. I had no idea what they did, but the pain would eventually fade, and I started to feel really damn good. I guess I was out for a while, as the next time I woke, I was laying in a crappy bed in a very white room. The pain seemed to be gone, but my body was freaking sore. It took a lot of effort to move my neck, but I was able to look around the room. Now I've been in medical rooms before. Never have seen one this clean. Everything looks like it was freshly sterilized, to the point that even the oxygen molecules were asked politely to sanitize themselves. I could hear a steady beeping sound, probably a heart monitor or something. There also appear to be many tubes and stuff connected to me at various points. My actual body was entirely wrapped in bandages, though it seemed like everything was still there. Finally, and I didn't want to acknowledge it, and I really didn't want to acknowledge it, there was a giant crusader in his full armor, holding a cheap gift shop teddy bear. Though it was a struggle, I did manage to sit myself up. I turned to look at the crusader. So, are you guys always in that armor, or what? Or did they just not make clothes big enough? I said, struggling to make the shitty joke. Lady Red, I mean, Lady Mordred, you're finally awake, the big lug said, nearly falling out of his chair, which was much too small for him. Yeah, though I feel like absolute hell. Is that how you normally say hello to people? 'Cause man, if it is, you really need to learn how to hold back. I am terribly sorry about that, Lady Mordred. I just lost control. I thought you were. He started to say, but it was clearly a struggle as he tried to fight back the tears. Hey, no need to do all that crying stuff. I'm clearly okay, ish. The point is, I'm still alive, and that's all that should matter, I said, not really wanting to console a giant killing machine. Anyways, who even is this Lady Reyna person, and why'd you mix me up with her? I should have known better. It's just, you look so much like her. You even have her scarlet red eyes. Okay, I mean, I get that there aren't many red-eye, white-haired people in the greater universe, especially none as awesome as me, but I'm still failing to see Lady was my lord's wife. Besides serving as royal guard for the longest time, I was also appointed as her trusted guard. She was always so kind and gentle to everyone, and managed to bring the best in all those she interacted with. When she was around, Arthur was much more relaxed and level headed. It was no stretch to say she was important to the Empire. Uh, you said was. I take it something bad happened to her? Yes. You see, he was obligated to hand over his firstborn due to a deal with a devil our Emperor made when he was a child. However, by doing so, he will be putting the greater universe in danger. So, despite his and Our Lady's desire to have children, Arthur refused. For a while, Lady Reyna accepted this fate, but as time went on, she desired a child of her own. She would plead with Arthur, causing a great many of attempts, causing a great many arguments. Eventually, Arthur got tired of her repeated requests and ordered to have her reproductive organs removed. This did not set well with Lady Reyna, and she stoutly refused, seeing her defiance as a traitorous offense. Rather than killing her, Arthur had her excommunicated instead. I do not know what happened to her after that, but I have always feared the worst. So when I burst into that room, you thought I was her, and you tried to hug me to death? That was not my intention. I was over I was overjoyed to see her again, and I lost all control. Well, you're lucky that medical science is freaking amazing, or you might have killed your lady, I said casually. Anyways, now that you know I'm not this Reina chick, how come you're still around? Shouldn't you be in jail or whatever? After we brought you to this medical station and the healers began operate on you, I spoke to the men in suits. I agreed to go along with them, with no issue. However, my only request was that I remain by your side until you awake, and after I have the chance to speak with you. Uh-huh. And why exactly did you want to speak to me? I mean, beyond trying to crush me and all that. First, I want to apologize. I never intended to make you wind up like this. Yeah, it sucks, but we already went over that stuff. There's gotta be more, right? Yes. Though I now see that you are not Lady Reyna. Strangely, you have strangely, you have the name that you do. What? Mordred? Yes. Okay, what of it? You're gonna tell me you have another lady who has red eyes, white hair, and shares my name? No. The reason I am interested in your name is that it shares a connection to my lord. How so? Back when the Empire was being established, our god gave Lord Artorias a vision. This vision was of 13 blades, created from the light of great warriors. These warriors would give their lives for the Empire, for the Emperor, who would in turn their dedication into a blade, which would protect him for all time. All 13 blades had their own names, along with the criteria for who will fill that position and what purposes the blade will serve. Now, mind you, one does not have to share a name with the blade to become it. They only must be recognized by the Empire and meet the criteria. One of the 13 blades was named Mordred. This blade was claimed to be very powerful. Its criteria, however, was concerning to say the least. The one to become the blade must be a child of the Emperor, hard-headed and ruthless. Their role was to be loyal to their lord, but will eventually end up betraying them, spilling his blood. So let me guess. I will become the sword or something? No. The thing about criteria is that it is up for interpretation. The child it calls for does not need to be a biological child. It could easily be one of his subjects, as he refers to all of us as his children. Okay, so what's your point? Still seems like this is pointing towards me being a freaking sword. No, as a sword has already been created. However, the knowledge of the 13 blades is only known to certain members of the Empire. The fact that you bear that name and look like Lady Reyna cannot be a simple coincidence. All right, I see where this is going, buddy. I I know you will say that my dad is the freaking emperor and that my mom is Lady Reyna. Well, I'm gonna spoil this now. That crusty emperor dude is definitely not my dad. My dad, my dad is that goddamn bastard Vanex. But for all I know, he might have gotten with that Reyna person since I never knew my mother. Crusader got to his feet, handed me the bear, and started to make his way out. I see. Well then, I shall not bother you any further, Lady Mordred. Though I suspect we will meet again. But if you ever need assistance, I have left you with a charm that will call out to me. It requires no magic or aura. All you must do is hold on to it, and say my name aloud. And what would that be? Lord Tyrus William III. But you can call me Tyrus. All right, Tyrus. I guess I'll be seeing you. Indeed. Take care, my lady, he said, bowing low. He made his way out of the room, leaving me alone with the damn bear. I didn't care for the way it stared at me, almost in a mocking way. Frustrated, I tossed the bear into a nearby chair. You know, that's kind of rude, right? Said someone to my right. I nearly jumped out of my bed, if I could actually move. I quickly looked to my right to see Ross just sitting there. What the hell? When did you get there? I said, not trying to hide my fright. Hey, I've been here the whole time, Ross said casually. It's not my fault you were too focused on the large lad in armor. I. Well, I guess you have a point, I admitted. What are you even doing here? Shouldn't you be doing paperwork or something? Oh, I've been doing that from here, he said as he gestured to a touchpad. But as to why I'm here, I was worried about you. Oh, really funny, Ross. Why are you really here? I'm serious. I'm serious, Mordred. I was honestly worried about you. When I heard about what happened, well, saying I was scared is an understatement. I mean, I'm a merc. You manage mercs. You shouldn't get you shouldn't get all anxious every time one gets hurt. Normally, I don't, but you are an exemption. What? Mordred, there's something I gotta tell you. And it's really important. Now more than ever. Uh, okay. What is it? I said, feeling uneasy. We have known each other for years, Mo. I've seen you charged into many dangerous situations, and every time I was worried I might never get to see you and tell you this. But every time, you were fine. And every time, I just chickened out. But not today, Mordred. I truly love you. I've always loved you since the moment we met. Back when we were just street rats. I know how badly you wanted to become a mercenary, and I wanted to help you in any way I could. But I was too weak to do what I could. So I set myself up to support you in any way. I did all of this, even getting you in touch with Pink Pride, because I truly do love you and want to see you happy. I was stunned. I was left in shock. My I felt my guts churning in utter anxiety. I, uh, wow. It was clear this was not the ideal reaction, as Ross immediately turned red and became flustered. Uh, I meant, just kidding. Forget what I said. No, I sheepishly said. Ross, I care about you a lot. Hell, you are my only normal friend. You've always been there for me. even during the hard times. But I just, I don't feel the same way. At least, not like that. Oh, he said in utter defeat. No, not like that at all. It's, it's tough to explain, but I don't really see anyone like that. Romantically, that is. I've never really felt the urge, you know? Oh, he said this time, a little less defeated. I don't know. Maybe there's something wrong with me or something. I just can't get myself to feel that kind of stuff. Trust me, I've tried. I've seen how you act around me when we're not on the clock, and I wanted to try and be what you wanted, but I just couldn't bring myself to feel that way. But I do care about you a lot. Hell, if something were to happen to you, I don't know what I'd do. I just I don't know. So, you can live without kisses? Without being me all mushy? Oh, wait. Mordred, Ross said softly. You don't need to force yourself to be something you are not. No, it's your personality that I fell for. Just because you can't be romantic doesn't change anything for me. I still care about you. I still want to remain by your side. I want to see you happy and spend so many days together with you. Because, well, I don't know any better way to say it, but I truly do love you. So, you can live without kisses, without me being all mushy, without me doing any of that weird stuff. You really can live without any of that? For you? Yes, I would do anything for you. He gave me a smile. Plus, I've still got my hands on that stuff anyway. Heh, you keep that up. You'll end up rubbing it raw. It hasn't happened yet. Listen, Ross, I do care about you, but I think I need some time to figure this all out. To figure myself out. Can we just remain as friends for now? But, like, close friends? I wouldn't have it any other way, Mo. He leaned over to give me a hug, which I struggled to give back. His embrace felt warm and very kind. I don't know how long we were holding each other, but it didn't matter. This felt way too nice. But it did eventually have to come to an end, as Ross broke away from me. Well, I gotta head back to the office. I need to finish up the paperwork from the mission, along with getting you all set for Pink Pride. Oh, that sounds like loads of fun, I said with heavy sarcasm. You bet, he said unsarcastically. Any word on when I should be out of here? Well, they have you on the fast track healing plan as payment for the mission, so you should be out tomorrow, better than ever. Damn, those higher class assholes get much better health care than us. Back on Outlier, I would have been a goner. Yeah, it's not a system I particularly care for, but it's the one we have to deal with. I guess. Anyways, I gotta head out. I'll see you tomorrow, alright? Alright, try not to work too hard. Or get a paper cut. He laughed as he exited the room. That was me, all alone, in the sterilized, empty room. There was too much to process. My mind couldn't even figure out where to start. Everything Tyrus said, the fact that he might have known my mother, his tone when I mentioned Vanex, all of it severely unnerves me. And to add to all of it, Ross's confession. I hope I wasn't too harsh. But man, I really did mean everything I said. I can't get myself to feel that romantic crap. But I do care about him a lot, more than anyone else. Is that love? What the hell is love? God damn it. I suppose I'm being too focused on... I suppose I'm supposed to be focused on work, games, and manga, not freaking love. That's it. I'ma punch him. And that's the end of it. Uh, we're about... Yeah, we are actually about a third of the way through the book. So, 2, So about yeah, probably 6 parts. Um, I hope you all enjoyed today. I enjoyed reading it. I got to introduce my favorite character, Tyrus. He is a lovable teddy bear. Um, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Uh, Again, I really like sharing stories with you guys. Uh, I will, of course, be uploading this to YouTube so you guys can watch in your own free time. Feel free to let me know what you think either on YouTube or on Twitter. Uh, and until next time, guys, I hope you all take care and sleep well. Uh, all right, bye bye.